Leonard Texan who's made his mark in Wolverine country. And we'll look back and ahead as we wrap up the 1992 campaign. All that and more coming up next.
A little tired of these ties. It's almost more difficult to do this show after a tie than a loss in some ways, particularly this year where you've had 3 of them.
Right, and it's disappointing, obviously, for the kids, and this is what the game's about, and the coaches as well. But we just didn't do enough things as players and coaches to win the game, and yet I think there was a lot of great effort by our team.
No question, a great effort. The fact is you're the undisputed Big Ten champions. You're going to the Rose Bowl. That happened last week. But do the ties take a little frost off the pumpkin?
Oh, there's no question about that, Jim. The kids, you know, they wanted to win that game as bad as anybody, and I think their effort was there, and as it came down under all the conditions, I thought we were in pretty good shape and felt, quite honestly, because they couldn't rush the ball against us, that we were not going to let them get in the end zone.
Overcast day at the Big Horseshoe, and Ohio State opened up throwing the ball early against you. Was that a surprise that they went to the air as much as they did?
Well, I don't think early necessarily, Jim, but the number of times they did, because they had Cothran, their fullback, in the flat for a big game. Then they got Robert Smith, their good running back, outside.
This is their first possession. They move it down to field goal range, and you get a big play.
Right. Jean Charles, a freshman, comes through with a great block and tips the ball up in the air, and here you see Dwayne Ware running with the ball, and that was a big play in the game. And it's one of those things that Sean is good at, and he came through in this case.
Did a good job, and then, of course, you get possession, but the one thing you don't want to have happen in big games, you turn it over.
Right. We go back, and here we didn't have good footing, Jim, and it really shows here. Derek could have stepped right in front of there, probably caught that ball, but they intercepted us going deep there. Then we give the ball back to them too quickly.
They were very good on third down against you.
They had a lot of key plays on third down. Here they go deep down the sideline, and we get a flag thrown on us there for pass interference. But, you know, Maloney felt like he was pushing away from the receiver pushed away from him, but that's football, I guess. Here they come out and hit a curl route there, and they picked away at us. The good thing is, Jim, they couldn't rush and didn't rush for over 100 yards, and that was the key to this game when you're playing Ohio State.
You get a big third down play there from Steve Morrison, force them to go to the field goal. This time they stick it in there, and they take a 3-0 lead in the first quarter against you. You got to be a little worried because offensively you've not really been able to move the ball.
No, but we had it twice, and once we threw an interception, and we got stopped on a 3rd and 2 where they had a stunning defense and hit us. But then we come back, and we're going to put this in the end zone after Wheatley run Ricky Powers. Then Ricky cuts outside here and falls down. Then we come back with Tyrone on a big gain here. And we were moving the ball well inside. We lost out on a couple conversions on short yardage. But we did a good job here with Tyrone getting down, going inside the 10-yard line. Ran a couple plays, got it down in tight. And then we try Elvis on the quarterback draw, which is successful for the touchdown. But that's the play he received the injury to the rib cage, really, Jim, and then wouldn't play the rest of the day.
Missed the extra point. It makes it a 6-3 ball game. And then Ohio State starts to come back. And Herbstreit scrambling was one of the big surprises, and it really hurt you.
He did a good job, and he kept his feet well, and I think he kept his poise and threw the ball in there. The key still to Ohio State, if you're going to play well defensively, you don't let them rush the ball, which our team did. We were, you know, they hurt us some in our secondary. We have some problems back there, and the fact that we have so many defensive players playing new, different positions. Then Derek here helps us, and our punt return team did a good job getting the ball set up. There you see an obvious face mask penalty, which we received.
And this is a big situation here. You get the 15-yard face mask call, Todd Collins in at quarterback, and you start at their 30, but then move backwards. You just can't get anything going.
Well, we had a holding call, which is very unusual on a screenplay prior to this, and so we're about 2nd and 25, and then they sack us, and we go clear back to 3rd and 30-some or whatever. So the holding call really hurt us there.
And then just before the half, they start to move the ball against you. And, you know, this is getting tight to be a tie game at halftime.
Right. Herbstreit comes back, and here again he scrambles. But we're doing a good job of not giving them big play and shutting off the run. And they hit a lot of intermediate passes, and you can't allow them to do that either. But we'd like to have a couple more drives where our offense kept the defense off the field.
They miss a 55-yarder at the half with the time running out. Going off at halftime, you had a 6-3 lead. I don't think you were happy with the way offensively you were playing. Knew you could do better than that. What about defense? Were you worried about Herbstreit and the fact they put up some yards on you?
Well, the thing we kept saying, okay, if they're going to nickel and dime us, we don't like that because they possess the ball. They possess the ball too long, throwing the ball in between the 20s. But our defense was able to get them shut down. We had a lot of time. You know, it's hard to put pressure on them sometimes when you're slipping around when we had an opportunity. But then our offense should have controlled the ball on a couple occasions, and yet we had some big drives in there at times, and they didn't turn the football over. But I felt pretty good. And the one thing that was comforting, Jim, that I started playing with there after we had a couple balls tipped and stuff was the fact that I didn't feel like they were going to put the ball in the end zone. And even when in the last drive, when we have them 1st and goal at the 3, they end up 4th and 5 on the 5, and then they hit the slant pass.
We'll see that, of course, coming up in the second half highlights, and those will be coming up in a minute. But first, let's hear from a gentleman that made a big play on special teams.
I've been coming hard from the corner for like 9-10 games now. So, you know, every game the coaches, you know, are telling me, when am I going to get one, you know? And I kept coming hard. And finally, today it happened, you know? So I'm happy about it.
Like this is hard to play, but we came into this game with the attitude that we were going to win, and no one was down and things like that. So it was just a case of whether, you know, the ball just didn't, you know, go the right way for us today, and that's how we chalk it up. But we made some mistakes. We could have did something better, but we can't fault anyone's effort. Everyone went out and played hard.
No question, the Wolverines played hard, as Tony McGee said, coming out of the second half, leading 6-3. You get the football. You got to feel like, hey, this is an opportunity for me to put it away because you had the wind at your back.
Right, and we never got the real good field position. We take the first drive out to midfield, and we come back, then we stop them, and then this is the second possession. Here on a 3rd down, Collins steps up there and fires one well to Monty Toomer over the middle, and then we come back and run Wheatley. And so we had some opportunities where we ran the ball, and we were moving in there well, and this goes in for a touchdown here.
Collins did a good job in this drive, particularly. Here he hits McGee over the middle, but you mixed it up the run and the pass. It looked like you were really in sync offensively this drive.
Right, and we took the opportunity to do that, Jim, you know, and there was a couple opportunities that I didn't want to take those same chances because of the field position we had and the way that our defense was playing. I didn't want to put them in bad shape.
Here's your big touchdown play, the fake double back dive, and Collins goes in untouched.
Right.
Is that a secret play?
Well, it's something we've been working on, and watching them, we thought it would be there, particularly when you get down in there close. And you normally don't have 2 rushing touchdowns out of our quarterbacks. Here they hit a big play when we had a couple opportunities to get them stopped. Our defense had a few 3rd down situations, which we would have liked to obviously convert it on.
Go to the 4th quarter, and Ohio State, of course, down again, and they go to work. This is a big 4th down play. Stabline gets open under the zone and makes the catch for the 1st down.
Right, and we take them down. Then next we take them to 3rd and 10, and they hit a trap play up the middle for 11 yards, which we should have stopped them there. Then they get down inside, and we had some good plays in these drives, Jim.
A blitz by Shante Peoples there, and you stuff them, so you stop them, force them to go for 3, and that gives them the 3 points. It makes it a 13-6 ball game. And you really, at this point, you get the ball back and put them away, but you can't get anything going offensively, and they come back with an opportunity again.
Right, and we should have taken some time off the clock with our offense, and we didn't do that. Then Herbstreit's running around, scrambling back there, makes a couple good plays. Then he hits the fullback up the middle on a 3rd and 8 play where we missed a tackle right here that would have stopped him from a 1st down, maybe forced him to kick a field goal again.
They come back. They're inside your 30 now, another 3rd and 8 play. And, you know, these guys just made a lot of big 3rd and 8s and 3rd and 9s against your defense. Was there any reason? Were they doing things differently?
Right. Well, they converted those, and you got to give them some credit. I don't think you can get great pass rush there because of the field conditions, but we came up with the running stops, and I still think that was the key for us having the opportunity to win the game, which we didn't. They're on 4th and 4 after having 1st and goal at the 3, 4th and 5, actually, from the 5. They stick in a slant pass.
Now, they stop you. They go for 1. They stop you. You kick it away. Matt Dyson makes the big defensive play here, forces them into a long pass. 3rd and 7 here. They hit it, and then Maloney comes up big, forces them short of the 1st down, and they have to kick it away.
Right, they go to 4th and 4, and they punt the ball. And then at the end of the game, we're trying to throw one down in here deep just to try to hit Derrick. Hopefully he can come up and catch the ball here. They intercept it and start to run it back as the time runs out.
And, of course, there's some excitement here because the game's over. Walter Smith pushes him out of bounds. He's not going to get away from Walter Smith. Game ends 13-13. And one of the things that you mentioned, you've talked about it a couple of times here, the field conditions. And after the game Saturday, you were very upset, and you said, hey, it was like playing on a hockey rink.
Well, I don't understand quite why the field was in the position it was. It was too slippery. They have the same kind of field as ours. I just felt it should have drained better. And it did make me a little nervous when Elvis went out there. And, Jim, I got a lot of confidence in Todd Collins. I think he's a good quarterback. I think it's hard when you know your defense, keep them out of the end zone, that you don't want to get them in good field position. Our problem was we're always starting down on our 20.
You told me you really never had field position that you liked in the second half to really open it up like you wanted to with Collins under those conditions.
Right, and I don't want to say it was Todd Collins either. It was Gary Moeller. I'm calling the plays, and I think I did it properly. It didn't turn out that way, but I wasn't going to do anything to put our defense in bad field position, give them an easy score, which I didn't want to do. And hopefully I was looking for a turnover myself where we could get some good field position to operate with.
Were you surprised at all when they scored and went for just 1 point to tie it at 13? I thought for sure with 4 minutes to go, they would go ahead and go for 2. Even if they don't make it, everybody's saying they'll get the ball back anyway. So then they can get in position to get a field goal because they get the wind at their back.
Right. I don't know exactly what their motivation was. Probably the fact that at least we're going to tie the game. We're going to try to get it back and maybe kick a field goal. Maybe he used his 2-point play for the touchdown on 4th down. Could have been the case as well.
And what about your thinking when you had the ball, again, with about 1.5 minutes to go deep in your own territory? Instead of throwing, you ran some draws, got it out to midfield before you went deep.
Well, one of the most fortunate plays for us probably in that day was we dropped a punt, which we recovered on our own 9. Again, I didn't want to slip up and give them an easy field goal, knowing if we could bounce the ball out, the defense they were in because they were way back, get out of bounds, which we did one play too late. It ate up some time. But we had some trouble offensively, and I was a little conservative, and I knew I had to be that, particularly when you got a quarterback at the line of scrimmage. He can't get the plays to people. They're in your backfield before you can set up the pass pro because your line can't hear the cadence. And it's one of the true problems with playing away from home. And I'm proud of our kids from one standpoint. We overcame a lot of elements today. Obviously, each and every one of us should have done something. One little play in there by each and every guy, we could have found a way to win this game.
Didn't happen. It ended up in a tie. Don't go away, though. We're going to be back. We'll talk more about this season, more about the Ohio State game a little later on. Meanwhile, we'll talk about a Texan who's playing for the Wolverines. But first, we'll hear from a couple of scoring Wolverines from the Saturday game against Ohio State.
It was a great call by Coach Moeller. It's just unfortunate I got a shot to my kidney, and I was spitting up blood for a while, and you know, the doctors were kind of concerned about me going back into the game, and you know, the team felt really confident with Todd in there. You know, he was in there for 2 games, did a great job, so we were confident in what he was going to do.
We knew they were going to come in there and try to hit Jesse or one of the backs, you know, right when he runs that dive play over the middle. So I just faked to the back, put the ball on my hip, and skirted into the corner of the end zone. No one was around. It was a good call.
Chris Hutchinson is not your stereotypical defensive lineman. The Michigan Tri-Captain is a quiet, thoughtful Texan, hailing from the Houston area. He's not a fire-breathing ogre who eats light bulbs for breakfast, yet he's one of the most successful sack artists in Michigan football history. And as defensive linemen go, he's small. He's undersized, they say. As a matter of fact, Chris has heard undersized a lot in his career.
More often than I like to hear, but it really doesn't affect me because I know how I can play, and I know that some of my undersized and the fact that I'm only 6'2", I think it helps me because I stay lower than the offensive tackles, and it helps me to stay underneath and keep my leverage. They isolate me one-on-one with a 300-pound tackle, and I just have to use my quickness and some of the stunts to take advantage of my speed and quickness.
It also hasn't been a cakewalk for Hutch either. Injuries, almost equaling his sacks, have nagged him his entire career. It's scary to think, but probably he'd be even better if not for the injuries, and he knows it.
I often wonder what kind of career I would have had if I didn't have all these injuries. But of course, with football, it's a tough game. You're going to have injuries. But it always seems that my injuries are the ones that nag, like my back, and then I have this foot that keeps bothering me for 3-4 weeks. But really the way I look at it is, you know, it's going to make me a better person when it all comes out, because I've overcome the pain and the diversity of, you know, all these different injuries, and, you know, I think it's going to help me in the long run.
In the short run, meantime, Chris is thinking only of a 5th straight Big Ten title. To be honest, that's the focus. That is the prime motivation for this Hutchinson-led team.
I think the fact that we have the odds going against us, and all summer Moeller questioned the fact that if the 5th-year seniors were hungry enough, because we've already had 4 Big Ten championships, and he constantly questioned us. And so we really disregarded all those previous Big Ten championships because they're not ours. This one is going to be ours. That's what we look at it. We want, as a 5th-year senior, you win the Big Ten championship, and that's really yours because this is our team, the 5th-year senior team.
And they can't take it away from Chris Hutchinson and the seniors. They did win their 5th straight, and he's quite a bit of player and been that way for a while, hasn't he, Mo?
Right, Jim. There's no question about it. He's a special young man. He's as deserving to be an All-American as any player has been here since I've been here. And then I looked at Corwin Brown and all the things that those guys did. And, Jim, you got to understand one thing. It was one of our greatest defensive effort with the overcoming a number of injuries and what our coaching staff did on defense and how our kids responded. And Hutchinson to be an All-American playing 2 different positions, that's hard to do.
It's special. Chris Hutchinson is a special player. You can honor the Wolverines, all the seniors.